Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Live Coffee Talk. I'm Michelle Quay, and if you are new to me, welcome. This is our coffee lounge, Wednesday morning live coffee talk. This is where I share love, courage, and connection with everyone who really deserve, and we all deserve love. We all have courage, and it's that connection that brings us all together. So I'm really thrilled today because I have another special guest whom will be joining me in a moment. If you haven't already done so, I would encourage you to, first of all, to like my page if you're watching this from my Facebook page, or join my group because there's a lot of stuff that it's happening right now in the group, and there's a lot of free offers and worksheet that you can download. And every Friday we do a live meditation session. So come and join me in the group. It's called the Confidence Lounge. So you can just click on the button on the top, that blue button on the top there. Then you can join me in the group. All right. So today I am going to have a wonderful conversation, and I met Nixie during the pandemic. You know, like when people are complaining about not making connection, here I am. I'm making all sorts of connection, and I'm really excited to have Nixie on my show today because she's actually all the way from UK. Nixie is a mom to a toddler, 3-year-old, and you might hear him in the background. He's a cute little boy, but you know how 3 years old go. So occasionally you might even see him coming onto the screen if he decided to show up. But Nixie is a mom to a toddler and a motherhood mentor with the twist. And the twist, she's going to tell you what the twist is. She helps spiritual moms looking for expansion and realignment, and moms just beginning on their spiritual journey. And she can help you step out of the shadow of overwhelm and stress, which is big. You know, I spoke to a lot of women in the group who are experiencing that overwhelm feeling and stress. And she can help to shed that mom guilt so that you can live energetically, purposeful, balanced life where you are aligned with your authentic self, your own unique motherhood, supported by your elemental archetype, and that you love motherhood as much as you love your baby. She also offers a range of spiritual readings and self-taught online motherhood crystals workshops. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Nixie Foster. Hi, Nixie.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here. And I know before we jump onto the show, you were worrying about, little boys. How old is he again?
He's 3 next week. So yeah, he's a toddler tornado.
Yeah, I think when I think back, I don't have any kids, but when I think back, having my nephew around the house when they're 3-year-old, one of the biggest struggle I see my sister and my sister-in-law going through is that the 3-year-old come and run and say, "Mommy, why does she get to do that? Why is this and that?" There's a lot of curiosity coming out from them.
Yeah. It's a lot of and there's a lot of they're discovering the world, and they're discovering their own self, and it's kind of like a big emotion time for them when all their hormones are starting to kick in, and their sense of self and their understanding of the world. And yeah, it can be a very testing time for them as well as for moms.
Right. And I'm sure that's the joy of working from home, right? Because you get to provide service for your clients, and at the same time, that you have this little boy running around and chasing you. It's just it really describes the life of a mom. You work hard, and the whole reason for working hard is because you are thinking about your loved ones, your kids, your family. So I'm curious, what inspires you to start your journey as a motherhood mentor for everyone?
It started way back when I was a kid at the I don't know if so it was Band-Aid, which was in the Africa, the original Band-Aid in the 80s. So and I always remember really wanting to work with mums and thinking I couldn't understand why the adults weren't doing anything about the mums looking so sad and the babies looking like so lost. And I was like, right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change the world. Like kids, like, like young preteens do. They have this idea that they can change the world. And then the big people, the adults tell us we can't. And I had my oldest son as a teenager, and he had birth trauma and was starved of oxygen. So everything I planned to do kind of went on hold because I was suddenly becoming a mum to a baby with so many complex needs and going to need so much help. And I went into hospitality, then spent years in there, ended up in a domestic violence relationship. And at the end of that, it was when I kind of reconnected back to my authentic self through my crystals, through my moon work. And when I had my youngest son, I was like, I'm not going to do this 38, 48, 70 hours a week, doing something that, yeah, I can do and enjoy, but it's not what my heart passion, my soul's passion. So I retrained as baby and mother well-being coach and baby massage and baby yoga. And it kind of went from there that I reconnected back to my authentic self, followed my matrix sense journey. And I'm still in my matrix sense journey because we are from when they're conceived, when our small ones are conceived, right up to sort of 7 or 9. And I was like, there's so many women trying to fit into this square shaped hole that they can't fit into. It's that and not understanding the patriarchal society myth of this perfect mother is not what true motherhood is. And it doesn't work for everybody. Everybody's motherhood is as unique as their fingerprint. So yeah, it's all about bringing feminine power and motherhood power back. We're the cornerstone of society, and I think the pandemic has proven that, hasn't it? We're the mothers are the ones that are left picking up all the pieces of homeschooling, working from home. I'm not saying there's not fathers out there pulling their weight, but it's much more fallen on women, and women are the ones that have had to sort of like reassess and maybe sacrifice some parts. Yeah. So
yeah. I think it's probably very eye-opening for the men too, because a lot of men, we have that society where we painted for years, no matter which culture you come from, we painted that picture of men being out there and making things happen, bringing home the bread, and women stays at home, taking care of the kids, doing this and that. But I think the society has changed so much that both men and women are really out in the workforce, and we're all doing what we need to do. But yet, there's that womanhood. Motherhood is very different compared to the men, right? We take care of them, the husband, we take care of the children, we take care of everything. And we're used to being able to multitask. And I love how you mentioned that the pandemic is really like kind of an eye-opening experience for everyone, because now the husband get to see what a woman is going through. Oh, I didn't know that, when I am out, doing stuff, you're actually doing the laundry. You have to clean up and you have to do the dishes. You have to wash, There's a lot of different things that the husband started to realize that, oh my gosh, that's what women is about. They're about doing things. And I didn't realize that was happening. So definitely something very interesting to observe. I wanted to go back just a little bit because you mentioned about tapping into your true authentic self, and you realize that you weren't following and listening to your heart. So I'm curious because, someone who's in the audience might be thinking that, well, I am pretty authentic. How do I know that I'm tapping into or being in tune to our true authentic self?
One of the things that I always say is that as women at night, stand outside, even if you haven't got a garden, even if it's on the sidewalk, stand outside, look up the stars and find the moon. because one, when you look up, you instantly feel better anyway. It's harder to think of low vibe negative energies than it is when you're looking down. But also the moon is connected and linked to our feminine energies. And in essence, the moon's cycle is actually the same days as the average natural cycle of a woman's cycle. And when we step out of that, everything has to be done now and everything has to be done immediately. And we have this, and you've got all these things that have to be done. When we slow down and we realign with that energy, we actually create more time and space, because we become, so we have those 28, 29-day cycles of the moon. So when it enters each sun sign, there's specific things that it's a really good time to do, or a really good time to understand why maybe things are happening, like maybe why you're feeling drawn to do some self-care and like your work is maybe not as important that day, or it may even be that just the emotional side. And then not only that, you have the travel around the sun itself, and each full moon and new moon enters a sun sign monthly as well. And each of those lunar months, you cover every aspect of your life, from family, personal, business, home, decluttering, and realigning with those seasons. So like the spring clean, the reason we begin to feel drawn to that is because the natural energies of Mother Earth, of the moon, of all of those are those are what are drawing us to be. And I think it's when we start then to connect, and then we can reconnect. We can stop looking outside for the answers and for validation, and really listen to that inner voice, and that kind, genuine inner voice, not the inner voice that we've created from the stories that have been told to us or by us or about us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I see is a lot of us, we listen to that noise outside, right? Yeah. So we are so tuned into what's going on outside of us rather than listening to what is inside of us. Mm-hmm. And it's really difficult for someone who is at the beginning of their journey to understand that concept of, I am not my voice, meaning that this is the voice that you've been listening, all the noises that you've been listening from outside, that came from our limiting belief, that came from our culture, came from the way that we grew up, everybody else's expectation. And that's what we were tuned into. But when things start to breaking down, or things are not working out, we start to see these struggles. We see the things that's, not getting the outcome that we want. And then we start to listen to what is that voice that's inside of us? What does that say? What does our heart say? And I love the way that you explain how the nature actually has a lot to do with the way that we're feeling, the way that we're the whole universe work. And one of the things, I also wanted to get your take on this, because I know you described something about the archetype. So I'm really interested in hearing about the archetypes of how this all ties together. Because one of the personality assessment that I offer to a lot of my clients is understanding the personality archetype based on the 5 elements. So the wood, fire, water, earth, and metal. These are the 5 elements that we all basically in the ancient 2,000 years ago, ancient Chinese came up with this whole idea of how this universe works is based on these 5 elements, and every one of us have each of these elements. So a lot of what we experience, on a personal level and also on a vast majority group is really has a lot to do with these nature. So what are some of the archetypes that you talk about when you do the moon?
Okay, they're really, really close. Moon, earth, fire, water, and air. So the metal would come within earth because it's mined from earth. So within earth you've got things like crystals, salt, metal, the earth itself, trees, and then the water, the sea, the river, the rain, the water within ourselves, and then again the fire, and then the air, so wind, the actual physical air we breathe, clouds, and then obviously the moon. So yeah, they're really, really close. So yeah, and each of those has, so you have like a dominant archetype, and then each of the others sort of play a part. Sometimes there's two that are really, really close, and so each one sort of represents a different place within the mum tribe. So you could always, especially for mums who've had a corporate job and being sort of stuck in that masculine corrupt energy and not even really in that divine masculine energy, and without even realizing it's just the way our Western societies have sort of swung. It's into that sort of very the sort of very egotistical corrupt masculine, rather than that support of ego from the divine masculine. They find it really hard when they become mums, because before they give birth, there was the woman, but mothers are, so they've given birth to two, because mother's entirely new as well. So they've given birth both to mother and baby. They find it really, really hard to come from that feminine place and understand. They may feel like they should be the leader, but actually their elemental archetype is the nurturer, or the moon, which is the more spiritual. And people really, if they haven't got a spiritual aspect, whether that's a religious belief or a spiritual practice, they can feel very disconnected and very unsure, and really kind of push it away, go, no, that's not my place, that's not, without truly understanding what that archetype means, that it's still got a strength, and it's still got a purpose, and it's still got a mission. It's just, that's what your authentic self is. Like when I had my little one, I was like, I'm going to be the earth mother that's always in a sling, and it didn't quite work that way. You know, I had to have a cesarean, and I was like, it took me a while to kind of go, actually, I'm much more the moon. I'm much more, yes, I connect with nature, but it's in a different way to how I perceived. And I think we're taught so early on in the modern society that we have to be the same as men to succeed, that when we have our babies and realize that we're not the same as men, we don't have that link, we're just as strong without the divine feminine and the divine masculine. That's where the balance is. But I think when you really understand and connect to those archetypes of moon, fire, earth, water, and air, I think that's when you start having the aha moments as well. When you start realizing what bits of stuff you can leave on the table, and what bits you take to serve you. So yeah, it's interesting. So your archetypes are the moon.
The moon. So the 5 elements archetypes from the ancient Chinese medicine, which we see a lot in feng shui, right?
Yeah.
So in feng shui, we always talk about which type of element is lacking and how do you complement that so that you can bring the universe or your world into a balance. And it focuses on creating that balance. And each one of us are a combination, a very unique combination of all 5 types. So yeah, those 5 types are wood, metal, water, fire, and earth. And each one of those elements serves a core value or the core requirement that you talked about. And these core values are really what holds that understanding, our mental understanding of, oh, I wish I could have done that. Why didn't I do that? Or something like that person just say something, I wish I could be that person. So there's that unique combination that makes us who we are and being really unique. And this combination is very different. So each person have a different percentage of how much wood they have, how much fire elements they have, and depending on which type you are, it speaks about a lot about the personality types. And with the personality type, I'm sure you see this in your practice as well. With the personality type, it tells us who we are. And when we combine it with how we view things in life, then it's like really eye-opening. At least, I've tried it on myself, where every time I get onto the phone, I'm telling the other person, this is who I am. I speak loud. And one other characteristic as a fire person is that you speak loud because you're very spontaneous and you're out there, you're outgoing. So this is just who I am. And people don't understand that because their wood element is a little smaller or it doesn't have a lot. So they feel that they're being threatened. They feel that they're being intimidated. And by understanding it, I'm sure you see this as well. By understanding it, you start to resonate a lot and you start fostering that feminine energy that you talked about.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. And it's why so many women feel, it's like when you birth your baby, it's that, so there's the triple goddess linear pattern of women, of the feminine. So once you've gone through childhood and adolescence, and then you've got the maiden, the sort of the huntress, the like discoverer, who's like, you're discovering who you are, what your beliefs are, hunting for your path and your mate. And then you have the mother, who's the like the birther, the nurturer, the family. And it doesn't always mean that you have to physically be a mother. You could be a mother as a businesswoman, a mother as in the community. It's that sort of, and then you have that wise woman, that crone aspect, the sort of like passing on of knowledge, which has been lost so much within the society, within like Western society. It's massively, that wisdom is no longer valued as it was and should be, and is almost mocked, if you know what I mean. It's like, oh yeah, it's just Granny in the corner, she's had too much to drink at the party, sort of thing, when actually it's possibly the only time that she actually feels like she can say the knowledge. So, without caring if you laugh at her, just because of the way society has gone. And so women, they birth their baby and they feel completely like they're splintered. It's like they are a million pieces. They've been splintered into these million pieces. Some of them come back, some of them never come back because they belonged to Maiden, and some come back in a completely different place and are never going to be in the place that they were before. And that's okay too, because you're never in that place that you were before. You're on your next step of your journey, of your cycle, of the linear journey, because feminine and women have such cyclical and cycles and phases that we're always spiraling in and spiraling back out. But it's that loss of identity and sense of self, and many women give up ever finding a sense of self, and then they have that empty nest syndrome because they've given everything to their babies, to their family, and not given anything to themselves. They sacrificed themselves because they didn't understand that you still have a self, but it might not be exactly the same. You're bringing with you what you need to from maidenhood and the lessons and the journeys, and this is just your next phase. And we've lost that. We've lost, we used to have the red tent. Our ancestors had the red tents where women would come together at the new moon and they would sit and speak and hold space and pass on stories. And they would all menstruate together because we didn't have, we didn't have street lights, we didn't have house lights, we didn't It was all that natural flow, you know,
Mhm.
so everybody was in tune, and there wasn't that, they raised each other up. There wasn't that
Yeah.
snidiness or competitiveness that is encouraged almost in modern womanhood.
Yeah,
So
I love
yeah,
I love it. So what's one of the biggest struggle that you've seen, you know, perhaps it was on your own journey, or perhaps it's the woman that you're working with right now in your circle. What's the
2 seconds.
biggest?
I hear tears. I think it's because the tower's falling down. Are you okay? I think
Oh,
something's fallen down. I think he's building a tower and it's fallen down.
oh no.
It sounds more frustrating than any frustration.
Oh no.
Come here. You can come here.
You can come. Let's come in.
He'll either come or he'll just. It's that he can. Oh, you can bring a car here and play. Your car track broke.
This is
Okay,
what
Mummy, fix
happened
it
when
in a
we have a
minute.
3-year-old.
His
This
car
is what
track
happened.
broke.
It's all part of our life, and this is right before the show. We were Nixie and I were talking, and then we were talking about, you know, hopefully he doesn't come on to the to be a problem, you know, during the interview. I said, you know, let him come, because this is real life and this is who we are,
Yeah.
you know, behind the camera. So let it be natural, and we're standing proud about it, right? Because it's all part of our life. So I
Yeah.
do want to wrap up the interview
Yeah.
today, though, because I think we can go on and on talking
We
about this
can. I
topic,
think we would.
foster this femininity, this feminism. But I know there's a screaming child in the back, and this is the time mom needs to go like, okay, let's go. So is there anything that you would like to share with the audience today? Maybe give them a takeaway. What would be the biggest takeaway that you want to give?
I think that biggest one is it's that identity, because I think it's that sense of loss of identity and loss of self. That to understand that the myth of having your baby and tucking them under one arm and the suit and the briefcase under the other, it's a myth, and it doesn't have to work for you. What works for you is the right path for your motherhood, and always reconnect back to yourself, trust yourself, and understand that you're going through a process of matricence, which is as important a process as adolescence. So you're going through the process of becoming a mother. We have properties.
Aww. It's okay. Do you want to come and meet a beautiful lady here?
No, he needs mummy, he said.
All right, Nixie.
I've got, you know, that toddler classic cartoon that.
All right, before I let you go, just let us know where we can find you.
So I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I'm also on Twitter. And I have my own website. It's really easy. Put in Nixie Foster. I wanted to keep it easy because mums, one, we're busy, and two, baby brain's a real thing. So put Nixie Foster in and you can find me. He's not, before anybody worries, he's not hurt. His car track broke. So he's just big emotions over a broken car
He
track.
just needs a hug right now.
Yeah. So I'm going to go give him a hug and rebuild the car track.
Yes, please. It's so great to have you here. I'm going to let you go. And it's been a great conversation. I really love how we have a lot of similarity in terms of what we practice. And I will definitely, yes, go. Thank you so much, Nixie, for coming on to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on Wednesday Live Coffee Talk. Hopefully you walk away with really important information. It's that feminine energy that we are fostering. It's the true authentic self that we're growing into. And hopefully by understanding your own archetype, your personality archetype, moon, fire, water, and air, that you gain more insight into who you are and how you're showing up in the world. And, before I let you go, I do have a workshop that is focusing on time management that is coming up next week on Friday at 4:30. I will be sharing the link in the group, also in the comment below, so that you can check out the time management workshop with me. And this one I am offering completely free to the women who are in my book club. So if you haven't checked out my book club, please do so. And join me next week again for another episode of Like Coffee Talk. This is where I share love, courage, and connection with you so that you can thrive and be who you are. Bye, everyone.